Welcome back everyone to Most Amazing Top 10. Some of you may be surprised to see me doing this video because it's about prisons. That's usually Landon's kind of thing. I'll be taking this one today though, and it's a good one. This is a mix of sports and crime. My name is Danny Burke and this is the top 10 athletes that went to prison. Really quickly, I just want to tell you guys about OneFootball. They are simply the best football app to stay up to date with all things football. News, live scores, results, transfers, everything you could possibly want to know. They cover your favorite teams and clubs all over the world. There's already 20 million people using it as their source of football news. They can't be wrong. It's also well known for dissecting, discussing and debating football too. You can customize the layout a lot based on your favorite clubs, teams and players. One of the coolest things I saw was the augmented reality feature that lets you take a look at a team's lineup on any flat surface in the real world. It's actually really cool. You can get it on iOS or Android right now by following the link in our description box or going to onefootball.com. Starting off at number 10 now, we have Floyd Mayweather. Boxing fans will know this American as one of the best boxers of all time. Even people who don't know much about boxing will probably recognize his name, especially after his huge fight with UFC's Conor McGregor. Well, years before that, back in 2012, the boxer served jail time. That year, he went to prison for 2 months out of a 3-month sentence in a misdemeanor domestic battery case. He pled guilty to attacking his former girlfriend, Josie Harris, including hair pulling and arm twisting, while 2 of their 3 children watched. The judge said, no matter who you are, you have consequences to your actions when they escalate to this level of violence. The guilty plea deal meant that Mayweather avoided trial on felony and misdemeanor that could have resulted in him spending 34 years in state prison if he was convicted on all counts. It wasn't the first time he'd been involved in a battery case either. In 2002, the boxer was convicted of a misdemeanor battery stemming from a fight with 2 women at a Las Vegas nightclub. Next up at number 9 now, we have Schlichter. As an athlete, Schlichter was a professional quarterback for the NFL in his heyday. In 2012, he was sentenced to 10 years and 7 months in prison for scamming over 50 people of millions of dollars in a sport ticket scheme. He was also ordered to pay $2.2 million in restitution. Schlichter was described as having a gambling addiction, which culminated in his elaborate scam. He convinced investors he could obtain tickets to OSU football games and other sporting events, including the Super Bowl, and then sell them on for profit. What he actually did was pocket all of the invested money. One of the victims, Anita Barney, was swindled out of at least $680,000, and he also convinced her to ask her friends and associates for more money for his scheme. During the hearing, the judge had harsh words for him, saying, "You have untold generosity shown to you, and you've repaid it with lies and thieving. You even victimized your own mother." Next up at number 8 now, we have Cecil Collins. He was a famous running back for the Miami Dolphins. He was on top of his game at one point, once named Louisiana's first Mr. Football. Then he began to get in trouble with the law, culminating in him being sent to prison for 15 years after admitting to breaking into the apartment of a woman he knew so that he could watch her sleep. This sentence for felony burglary was the maximum under Florida law. The judge said he had received the maximum because of his earlier convictions for a similar offense. The hearing didn't take too long at all. It was handed down in less than 2 hours after the jury completed deliberations and convicted him of the crime. He told the court that he just wanted to watch her sleep. He was released in 2014 after serving more than 13 years in prison. Coming in at number 7 now, we have Naposki. He was a professional football player in the NFL, playing for the New England Patriots in the late 80s. In May 2009, he was arrested in Connecticut and charged with a murder committed in December 1994. The victim was Bill McLaughlin. Naposki had been romantically involved with Bill's girlfriend, Nanette Johnson. They hatched a plot to kill Bill so that Johnston could collect his life insurance. She also didn't want him to find out that she had been cheating on him and stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from his various bank accounts. She was also making a play to serve as trustee of his estate, which could have been worth millions. On August 10, 2012, Naposki was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. The sentencing came 18 years after the murder took place. The investigation had gone cold for many years until the police found new witnesses who provided enough additional evidence that led to murder charges being filed against Naposki and Johnston in 2008. Moving on to number 6 now, we have Rae Carruth. He was a professional football player in the late 1990s. In 2001, he was found guilty of conspiring to murder his then girlfriend, Sharisha Adams, who was pregnant with his child. He had been dating Sharisha, a real estate agent, for a number of months. Sharisha was shot while driving her car. She managed to call the police and tell them that a car had pulled up alongside her and that Carruth was driving and a passenger had shot her. She fell into a coma upon arrival at the hospital. Tricia was 8 months pregnant at the time. They delivered the baby via emergency C-section. Sadly, she died a month later. The baby had cerebral palsy due to being without oxygen for 17 minutes before he was born. Carruth fled after Tricia's death, but was eventually captured after a shootout 2 days later. He was found hiding in the trunk of a car along with $3,900 in cash, extra clothes, candy bars, a phone, and bottles of his own urine. He was found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder, shooting an occupied vehicle, and using an instrument to destroy an unborn child. He was sentenced to 18 to 24 years in prison and now has a projected release date of October 18, 2018. Next up at number 5 now we have Marc Cecilon. This Frenchman is a former rugby union player who captained the national side on 5 different occasions. He was known as the quiet man of French rugby, but he made quite a name for himself in 2004. In that year, Cecilon was already retired. He was at a party one night and was asked to leave after becoming visibly drunk. He left but returned sometime later with a revolver. He then shot his wife 5 times, killing her. While appearing in court, Cecilon stated that he was drunk at the time and depressed and didn't mean to kill her. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison in 2006 but was released on parole in 2011. Moving on to number 4 now, we have Steven Seligman. This guy raced stock cars during the 1980s and 90s. He had a pretty successful run on smaller racing circuits with dreams of making it big on the NASCAR circuit. Despite not having made it big yet, he always seemed to have thousands of dollars in racing cars and equipment in his shop. The reason for that eventually came to light. He was selling cocaine. Police conducted a 2-month-long investigation during which undercover agents made several drug buys from him and taped their transactions. They suspected he was doing about $125,000 in business a week. This wasn't his first arrest either. He had similar charges dating back to 1995. He was sentenced to 27 years in prison but was eventually released. He got straight back into racing, with people hoping he doesn't use cocaine to fund it this time. Next up at number 3 now we have Mark Rogowski. Mark Gator Rogowski was a skateboarding prodigy. In 1984, at the age of just 14, he had already turned pro, skating all over California. By 17, he was earning $100,000 a year, partly as the face of Vision's Gator skateboards, which helped form his nickname. By 1990 though, the money had dried up and so had Rogowski's career. He hit a rough patch, began to drink constantly, and eventually his long-term girlfriend left him. One night, in an angry, drunken stupor, he raped and murdered a friend of one of his ex-girlfriends, burying her body in a surfboard bag in the desert. He was sentenced to 31 years in prison in 1992. After being denied parole in 2011, his next eligibility for parole is 2018. In a documentary about his life, Rogowski admits, "I was a coward emotionally and mentally. I hate what I did." Moving on to number 2 now, we have James Butler. He was a super middleweight champion boxer, starting his career off with 18 wins and only 1 loss. By 2004, his record was starting to look more shaky, and he'd already been to prison for assaulting an opponent after a boxing match was over. Then he was charged with manslaughter and arson. Butler pled guilty to killing Sam Kellerman, his longtime friend whom he got into a dispute with when Kellerman told him to move out of his place. After killing him, he burned his home to the ground. He was sentenced to 29 years and 4 months in prison. And finally, number 1 now, we have O.J. Simpson. He's perhaps the most famous example of the law coming down on athletes, but this isn't about the case you're thinking of. On October 3rd, 1995, former NFL player Simpson was acquitted of the murders of his ex-wife Nicole Brown and Ronald Goldman. This trial has become one of the most famous of all time, mainly for dividing the public on the innocent verdict. Simpson returned to the spotlight in 2008 when, exactly 13 years after he was acquitted of the murders, he was found guilty in an armed robbery case of a hotel casino in Las Vegas. He served 9 years in prison, eventually being released on parole in November 2017. As a parolee, Simpson was instructed to not consume alcohol in large quantities or spend time with other ex-convicts. Failure to do so could have landed Simpson back in jail. A spokesperson for the Department of Corrections said she told him to not come back to prison. Simpson replied that he didn't intend to. Okay then guys, that's all for today. I was going to say that this should be a warning for all you young athletes out there to not get into trouble with the law, but actually it applies to everyone. What do you want to see next on the channel? Also, thanks again to One Football. Check them out. You can find the link in the description box below. Thanks for watching as always guys. I'm Danny Burke and I'll see you all in the next video.